Hi, my name is Adi and I've been learning Russian since 2016. In this video, I want to speak with you about all the reasons why I think that Russian is actually not that difficult to be able to speak. This is contrary to what a lot of people think. They think that Russian is one of the most difficult languages to learn, and it can be difficult at times, but if you're really into it, to want to be able to speak Russian, there are quite some reasons that make it a lot easier to speak Russian than some of the more common languages that people want to learn, such as Spanish, German, French, and others. All right, so let's get started. The first reason why Russian is not that difficult is because Russian people are incredibly happy to speak Russian with you. This may seem obvious for a lot of languages, but in many languages, people do not want to speak with foreigners. And this makes it incredibly difficult for foreigners to actually practice speaking the language. A common example here is Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands. So everyone in my country, we speak Dutch, but everyone also speaks English very well. When my girlfriend wants to practice Dutch with Dutch people, like 80% of the time, they always switch to English right away. So she barely gets a chance to be practicing Dutch. And I had a similar experience when I was in Spain. I wanted to learn a little bit of Spanish. I tried to speak Spanish I went to a shop and tried to speak a little bit there. And people would also just quickly switch to English or just not seem that into me trying to speak some Spanish with them. And in Russia, this is the complete opposite. Every single time I've been to Russia, I've noticed that with like 80% of the time with whomever I speak, that they're very happy that I want to learn Russian, because probably not too many foreigners want. There are just not that many foreigners in Russia. So if you are a foreigner in Russia and you put in the effort to be speaking a little bit, people will very much appreciate that. And once they appreciate it, it would also mean that, you get positive feedback, which will mean that you will become more motivated, because if you see people smile and people talk to you and really encourage you to speak, you'll be wanting to speak more. All right, so we can still talk for a long time about that. Let's continue. The second thing is that Russian has a flexible word order. Russian has cases, which means that the end of each word changes according to its function in the sentence. And this is very difficult to learn, that's true. But the blessing in disguise is actually that because each word changes their ending based on its function, that you can basically create any word order that you want. So, for example, if in English you would say, I to the cinema go. Sounds weird, right? But if in Russian you say, я в кино иду, it's completely fine. So you can just this frees up so much mental energy if you want to be speaking, because you can just you want to say something, you only know the first word that you're gonna say. So you can just say the first word, and while speaking it, you just say the second word. And while saying the second word, you think of the third word, and this allows for a much more fluent way of expressing yourself than in strict word order languages such as English, Dutch, German, French, Spanish. With those languages, you need to completely think of the entire sentence before you start speaking. And this means that before you speak, there's like a pause, and then you start to think, what am I going to say? So it makes your speech very slow and not fluent. Okay, so the third thing that makes Russian quite easy to speak is the fact that there are 0 articles. Articles do not exist. So you don't need to think of the, a, and like they are in English. You also don't need to think like in French you have the le, la. Those are incredibly difficult. Russian does not have any of them. And this is great if you want to be able to speak fluently, because fluent speech is just the absence, is the absence of mistakes. And if there are no articles that you can make mistakes in, it's a lot easier to become to speak at a high level. Like I said before, I'm from Holland, and we have this stuff like articles like de, het, and een. And even some immigrants that have been living here for 30 years, they speak completely fine in every single aspect, except for the articles. They still mess them up because they're completely random. And it's a dead giveaway to see if a person is a native speaker or not, just because of the articles. We do not have this problem if we're learning Russian, and we really should take our advantage. It's funny, like a Russian person trying to speak English, like they make a mistake, like I put the pizza in oven. That's because they do not have articles. It should be I put the pizza in the oven. But they don't have articles, so once they try to learn English, it's incredibly difficult for them. Okay, so the fourth reason why it's actually easy to learn Russian is because Russia is one of the most widely spoken languages in the world. That means that I think there are 258 million people worldwide who speak Russian. And because there are so many people speaking Russian, means that there's a huge amount of resources available. There's so much material available. You can find huge amounts of TV series, movies, all with English subtitles, because you need those in the beginning. You can also find video games in Russian. There's so much music in Russian. You can even read books in Russian. Like, there are plenty of dual language books in Russian, which means that you can read Russian on one page and English on the other page. This is great for if you want to learn how to read Russian, but your level is not high enough. There are also so many courses available. You can basically choose the correct course based on how you prefer to learn. And if you compare this with some of the lesser known languages, you'll find that it's very difficult to even find series that have TV shows that have English subtitles. So if you're a beginner, it's super difficult to get into the flow of learning just because there's almost no resource. So with Russian, we're super lucky that there's plenty of resources and material that we can use to learn Russian well. The fifth reason why Russian is actually not that difficult is because of the alphabet. Now, plenty of people think that the Russian alphabet is super difficult. If I tell someone that I know Russian, often they say, oh wow, that's cool. And then they ask, but isn't the alphabet super difficult? And I'm like, no, actually not. The alphabet is super easy. That's because the Russian alphabet and the Latin alphabet, they actually have a common ancestor, which is the Greek alphabet. And because the Greek alphabet was 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, basically the Latin alphabet went one way and the Russian alphabet the other way, which means that we even have quite some letters in common with the Russian and the Latin alphabet. And there are, of course, some other letters, but in total there's only 33, out of which like 3/4 are basically the same or they differ a little bit. It just, they look a little different, but the sound is basically similar like we have in the Latin alphabet. And then there's, of course, like 1/4 of the letters that we do not know in the English alphabet, in the Latin alphabet. But that's okay, because if you're a normal person and you just spend an hour going through the letters, seeing how they're listening to how they're pronounced, seeing how they look in words, then it's not that difficult. I mean, spend an hour going through it and you'll know like the alphabet for most of the time. And then you continue learning and then you learn all the other parts as well. So it's not that difficult. Right, so the sixth thing why Russian is actually not that difficult is because the Russian pronunciation, while difficult in the beginning, gets a lot easier over time. It improves even if you don't really put too much effort in it. That's like, there's a small story that I know of a friend who wanted to learn Russian here, and he went to courses. But in the courses, they put all the emphasis on him saying everything perfect exactly from the beginning. And after a couple weeks, he just quit because he was like, this is too, like, I need to speak everything perfectly, and he didn't even get the time to practice conversating well because the teacher would cut him off and say, oh no, you need to speak more perfectly. But the thing is, my pronunciation right now, a lot of people Russian say that it's quite good, but it wasn't always like that. If I listened to myself speaking in the beginning, it was quite with a thick accent, but now it gotten a lot better, and that's mainly because I practiced a lot. I just spoke a lot. I did not necessarily put a lot of effort into pronunciation correctly, but I also listened to a lot of Russian. So even if you don't specifically put a lot of effort into improving your accent, over time it will get better anyway. All right, so the seventh thing that is great about learning Russian, when it's quite easy, is the fact that you must speak Russian in Russian. There's no other option. If you travel to Russia, you don't know Russian, you only know English, you're not gonna have a fun time unless you're like in a huge tourist group with guides and everything, but that's not the real Russian experience. If you travel to Russia either to live or on your own for a longer period of time, or because you have a partner there, then you must speak Russian in order to communicate with Russians, because their level of English simply is not good enough for you to speak English with them, with most of them, of course. So someone very smart a long time ago said, necessity is the mother of learning. And if you're in Russia and you do not have any choice but to speak Russian, then you will be speaking Russian. It makes it so much easier to be motivated, to have discipline, to learn, because there is no other option. And that's also great about Russian. Like many other languages like Dutch, I don't know, you don't really need to learn it because you can speak English anyway. But with Russian, we do not have that luxury, which is a blessing in disguise. All right, so the eighth thing why Russian is actually not that difficult is because of the cases. Now the cases are difficult. You need to learn, like for each case, for each different word, you need to learn 6 different endings, and this is all difficult. But the thing is not as difficult as you think it might be, because you can, even if you would speak completely without using cases, Russian people would still completely fine understand what you say. It's like you wouldn't sound too sophisticated, but you know, you would be able to communicate. And another thing is that very often Russian people themselves, they kind of swallow the endings of the words anyway. So if you are speaking Russian, like an example here is like, my mom likes flowers. Mamia nравится цветы. So you say in this, it's in the dative case, but even if I would not know the correct case and I would say it in the, let's say the genitive case, I would say Маме нравятся цветы. I would say the wrong case, but if you say it fast enough, then no one hears the difference anyway. So sure, put your time and effort into learning the cases correctly, but don't worry too much if they're kind of not working. And if you make mistakes, it's better to be able to communicate well and make mistakes than to completely try to say everything perfectly, but make everything go so slow and you know, bore your conversation partner. That's what we don't want. The ninth reason why Russian is actually easy to learn is because there's no dialects in Russia. And this is great because you can just learn one type of Russian, like you just learn the way they speak in Moscow, and you'll be able to understand everyone ranging from Vladivostok to Crimea to in the north to Murmansk. Like everyone speaks similar. There are a couple of differences, mainly in the way in the south they say g, or they say like in the south and in the north they pronounce the g a little different. In Moscow they pronounce the o quite often as a, whereas in other places they don't do that. But in the end, it doesn't change the elementary part of the Russian language. You can understand everything perfectly fine. In some other countries, like again about Holland, like our country is super small, but we have, like, I barely understand people from the north because their dialect is so different. And in Russia, we do not have this problem. Okay, so the 10th thing that is great about learning Russian is that the pronunciation is the same as it's written. So every single time you see the letter I, you pronounce it as the letter I. You might remember, like in English, the letter, every single letter has so many different types of pronunciation that for foreigners, it's very difficult to learn English simply because like they read a word and they have no clue how to actually pronounce it. They first need to listen to the word many times before they know how to pronounce this word. And with Russian, once you get like a couple months of experience, you simply read the word and you can already guess how to pronounce the word. The only downside here is that the stresses can be a little bit irregular in Russian. That's why I recommend if you're learning vocabulary to make sure that you use a resource that underscores the stress in each word, so you know right away where to put the stress. All right, so the 11th thing that makes Russian quite easy to learn, that makes spoken Russian easy to learn, is the fact that Russian people are everywhere. Like, it's wherever you go. Like I live in Amsterdam and I just walk on the street and almost every day I hear a person speaking Russian. And this is great too, because in order to speak Russian well, you need to practice speaking Russian a lot. And in order to do that, you need a conversation partner. And because Russians are everywhere, there's quite a chance that if you live in a normal city, that someone at your job speaks Russian, or that you, like, you know, in your sports team, someone speaks Russian. And in that case, you can slowly build up a friendship with this person. And also, you know, just show genuine interest in their culture and in their language. And then you can, if you see them once a week while playing sports, you can practice a little bit of Russian then. Or if you see them every single day at work, you can, you know, just speak to them while you're having lunch. Because Russians are everywhere, it's a lot easier to meet them and to really practice. All right, so the last reason, and maybe the most important reason why Russian is quite easy to learn, is because most people, they either love or hate Russia. Like if you meet someone here on this, if you ask someone what their opinion is about Russia, not even with language learning. Like most people are like, wow, I will really go to Russia one day. And so many other people say like, oh, Russia, no, I don't really care. Don't want to know what's happening there. Like people, it seems like they're either fascinated by Russia or they're a little bit afraid, kind of. And if you're watching this video already here, then I can say like with 99% security that you are a person that is already fascinated by Russia. And if you want to learn the language, the most important part is that you're intrinsically motivated, because that's where all the motivation comes from. Learning Russian to a high level takes a couple of years at minimum. So you need to be able to stay motivated for a longer period of time. And if you're already fascinated by Russia, then it's a lot easier to do that. All right, thank you very much for watching. Спасибо за просмотр, and wish you good luck with learning Russian.